All right, Sam, you return to action this Saturday night taking on a fellow Canadian and John McDessie here. And this was really interesting because this fight, it was put together and a training partner of yours for years and years, Chris Horodecki, working at TriStar. And it was a bit of this kind of awkward situation when this fight was put together, I assume, for Chris.
Yeah, he had just started to train there. He'd worked with McDessie a couple times, just sparred a couple rounds. I don't think they had done too much together, but yeah, as soon as they announced that fight, they kind of had to put a stop to, partnering up for rounds and that sort of thing. I think they just kind of kept their distance from each other when they were both at TriStar at the same time.
You looking great against Spencer Fisher back in June when we saw you down in Atlantic City. Working with Mark Delagrade in that fight, were you continuing to work with him in preparation for this fight with John?
Yeah, actually, for that fight, I had only worked with Mark a handful of times. We met up in Vegas and trained there, and then we trained the week of the fight when he came down, and more just had him down to be the lead corner guy because he has so much experience in the corner. But this camp, we've actually got to put in some serious work together. I went down and lived right at his house, and worked out with him and the guys at Sid Yut Tung in Boston, and we got a great couple weeks in, and we're you can expect to see an even better performance from me this time.
Now, I'm sure his training help has been invaluable, but what do you give him as a grade on his acting abilities in Here Comes the Boom? Have you seen the movie, and what did you get? Because this was not just a cameo that I think a lot of people expected. Mark Delagrade was featured role in this movie.
Yeah, I think he did a good job. He was playing himself, so he didn't have to do too much acting, but he did a good job in the film, and I enjoyed watching it, and it was he did a really good job.
Now, when people look on paper here and see Sam Stout, John McDessie, this really screams stand-up war and potential fight of the night. Is that kind of in the back of your head that there's a lot of expectations, I think, for people, and this is a really interesting undercard, I feel, with you and McDessie taking center stage there.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of stand-up in this fight, no doubt about it. But like you saw in my last fight, I've been trying to mix things up a little bit and keep, I would really like to keep him guessing in this fight and not let him just get comfortable in a stand-up fight. I'd like him to be worried about takedowns, and that I know from experience, if you're worried about takedowns, it affects your striking game. It makes you more tentative of a striker because you don't want to overcommit to something and leave yourself open to get taken down. So, I plan on just making him really uncomfortable in this fight.
Also, an interesting trivia note on this card is that you're going to be fighting on the same card as Mark Hominick. The first time you guys have fought together since September of '07, TKO 30, where, not to jinx things here, you two making very short work of your opponents that night. So I think lends at least some luck in your corner here.
Yeah, we had a good night then. So, we've and the last time we fought on a UFC card together was, UFC 58, and George was on that card, myself, and Mark. So, that was a good night for all of us as well. So let's hope that trend, carries on.
UFC 58, it just feels like it was, a few years ago, and here it is 2006 now. We fast forward. I mean, do you feel like a veteran right now? Because you really are at this point. I mean, this isn't anything new to you. Going into the octagon, you've been in there much more than John McDessie at this point, and you're kind of that veteran even right now at the age of 28.
Yeah, I think I actually have, more fights than him, in the UFC, more fights in the UFC than he has in his entire career. So I definitely feel like experience is on my side. I fought, even fighting here in the Bell Center. I've done that plenty of times. It's not going to be nothing new to me. I feel like I'm at a point now where there's not too much I haven't seen inside that octagon, and it just lets you feel that much more comfortable and that much more confident going in there.
And right now, I mean, not obviously looking past John McDessie here, but I mean, you look at you're involved in maybe the most loaded division in the sport right now at 155. This is a division that obviously every win is so instrumental and key in progression. Looking ahead here, where does this place you in the lightweight division? Should you be successful Saturday night?
Well, I've been really looking at my career lately, and getting to the point where it's time to, I feel like it's time to be smarter about my career, more strategic, and I'm 28 years old now. I've been in the UFC for, coming on 7 years, and I think it's my time to make a run for the title. So I think this win is a step in that direction, and I think this is my time to make that run. Well,
we look forward to seeing you on Saturday night, and all the best, Sam. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.